David, yeah. So just to put into context what happened previously, we had something called an educational contract next. So I'll just have a conversation with you. Why do we have one?
To align agendas and to really set the scene for the educational experience, to try and get the most out of it rather than just wing it.
Yeah, so if you look at an educational contract from a trainer's perspective, it's a chance to sense check where you think the trainee is in terms of assessment. As you rightly say, you align the agendas, you find out what they're looking for versus what you're trying to add to their training. And then importantly, you set the ground rules. And I think from my perspective, the ground rules dictate your relationship with the trainee, and it evolves with time. So in your experience, how long should that take?
Practically, it needs to be a minute or two, right, in order to run through a training list.
Yeah,
still stopping.
So the educational contract we saw this morning was quite detailed and quite protracted, and you're probably thinking, I can't do that in every list, and you're absolutely right. And I think what you find is when you have your same trainee, that contract just gets shorter and shorter. In fact, what you tend to do is you focus on two things. So if you've lost control as a trainer within a teaching environment, you tend to add a rule to allow you to gain control. That's one thing you add into the contract. And secondly, if they've discovered something they want to change in terms of their objectives, they add that. But frequently I find that their objectives are pretty much similar every procedure until they achieve, I don't know, the ability to not necessarily put lots of loops in the sigmoid, for example, or they can get in their TI. So I think the objectives need to be viewed in two ways. So the generic, where they are at its point of training, you set objectives that maybe last for a month or 2 or 3 months until they reach that point. And then the training that occurs within the procedure itself is very much opportunistic. And I think you try not to clash the two things, because if they say, well, I want to take a polyp, I want to do polypectomy, and there's no polyps, you're wasting your time. So I think on a day-to-day basis, your training needs to be what I call opportunistic, what happens within the procedure, and that needs to be put into the set of where they're trying to get to over 2 or 3 months. Do you find the same, or have you got a different experience?
No, I think that's right. And trainees reach different stages at different times. So when people start, I usually say to them, your objective is not to get to the cecum. We're going to spend 20 or 30